So before we dive into today's episode, we want to give a huge shout out to our amazing sponsor, Larkin Staffing Agency in New York City.
Yes. So Jules was part of my trauma when I was just out of, residency, trying to look for a job. I mean, the time it takes to do that it's
Insurmountable.
Yeah. And you have to do it because, once you finish residency, you want to have a plan to have a job after.
Yeah.
So you have to do all of this while you're still working and learning and board studying
I was
and
just
all
going to
these
say
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to find a job, and that can be just complicated because you don't know like where you're applying. There's so many places to apply to.
And they're all different.
And they're all different. They all have different information, different requirements. Yeah, exactly. Don't even get me started on HR. And then not only do you have to find a job, but then you need to find your references. You need to schedule your interview, which most of the time I don't have time to do it unless it's the weekend.
Exactly.
But anyways, imagine if you were to have a place that could do it all for you.
That would have been great even with Mario. I saw him doing that too.
Exactly.
It was insane.
Yeah. So then on the flip side, it's also hard for employers to hire quality people and find candidates.
Yeah.
So it's just as hard on both sides.
Exactly. Quality people that have the requirements and the things that you need that are reliable, all those things, like just to process like everything. Because I can only imagine as an employer, like you put something out there in one of these job recruiting websites and there's a slew of applications that must come into your inbox.
Exactly.
So it's like, how do you even handle that too on
and how do you filter and how do you find someone that's going to be right for the job? Because you also can't interview everyone.
Exactly.
But here comes our sponsors to help. Yeah. Larkin Staffing Agency is not just any staffing agency. They're a third-generation, family-owned, female-led small business run by incredible mother-daughter duos. With 87 years of experience under their belt, they have been cornerstones in the healthcare staffing industry, providing top-notch candidates for a wide range of positions. Whether you're a teeny-tiny private practice or a sprawling multi-hospital healthcare system, Larkin Staffing Agency has got you covered. They specialize in staffing nurses, medical assistants, techs, office managers, and so much more. Their candidates are truly the best in the business, ensuring that your healthcare facility runs smoothly and efficiently. So if you're in the New York City area and looking to staff your office, don't wait. Head over to their website at larkinagencystaffing.com or shoot them an email at info@larkinagencystaffing.com for more information. Remember, whatever your staffing needs are, clearly you need to start looking with Larkin.
Absolutely. And honestly, I have been in contact with them and they are some of the nicest, friendliest people. They're very, very helpful. Just contact. I guarantee you will just be in awe with how nice everyone is there. Like they really are great people. Yeah. So yeah, we wanted to shout them out because if you're listening to this and you have any know-how or you've ever even tried to look for a job in the healthcare
very difficult
world, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's just a lot of responsibility too. And, and you might not, you need to look for somewhere where you're going to be happy and that perfect fit. And they really come in to help do you all that legwork for you and basically make you the most successful candidate.
They just help out that whole process out so much because you're already dealing with all the stress of having to look for a job and trying to mitigate all that anxiety of trying to find a job. And they are there to help you out with that, so you can't go wrong. Give them a look, contact them.
Again, at larkinagencystaffing.com, or you can email them at info@larkinagencystaffing.com.
Yeah. All right. So back to our episode.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Hi. We got a two-parter for you today.
Yes. I think this is we've been wanting to do this episode for a really long time.
Yeah. And it's very relevant right now.
Yes. I mean, check out our June recap. We kind of had a little bit of a subject. Today we're talking about birth control.
Yeah.
Today and next week. We're talking about birth control because it is a monster. It is a lot of information.
Yeah.
There's a lot of confusion, a lot of myths, a lot of everything associated with birth control.
Yeah.
But something super important.
Really important, very topical right now too. So let's get into it. But before we do that, we want to thank some new Patreon members.
Yes.
Thank you, Antonio.
Yes. And thank you, Mike.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining our Patreon group.
Yes. I'm so happy that everyone is jumping on our Patreon.
Yes. And for those of you that want to check it out, patreon.com/Funny Medicine Podcast.
Yes.
where you'll have full episodes there, just like these, but completely full episodes only exclusively available for subscribers.
Yes. Julie and I sometimes do release some of our Patreon episodes so our podcast listeners can see what our Patreon episodes are kind of like.
Exactly.
They're a little bit more
Punchy.
Yeah. She's a good word. Because, you know, we have a little bit of the
the paywalls
so,
between, so yeah.
But yeah, so check it out, and
Yeah.
hopefully you guys enjoy both our Patreon and our podcast. And thank you so much to Antonio and Mike.
Yes. And then you also get the video version of these weekly episodes on the day that the audio comes out versus having a whole week later the video come out. So
Yes.
So yeah, those are some of the perks. But anyways, let's get into this monster of a freaking topic.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
All right, so
Go ahead.
science.
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's go.
Birth control, also called contraception, refers to methods used to prevent pregnancy. There are many different types of birth control available today. The main categories include 1. Hormonal methods. These work by using hormones to prevent ovulation or fertilization. Examples include the birth control pills, which is what mostly everyone thinks of. The patches. Yes, there's a patch that you can use. Vaginal rings. If you don't know what that is, it is a flexible ring that you insert almost like if it was a tampon. And that provides a hormonal change. And you can have the injection, so you're injecting the hormone, and then you can also have the implant, which is most commonly known as a Nexplanon. Becky G is a huge person advertising the Nexplanon, but that is also hormonal. There's barrier methods, so literally physically creating a barrier. So these physically block the sperm from reaching the egg. So this includes condoms, diaphragms, and also cervical caps. Okay. 3, intrauterine devices, an IUD, which is the one that I'm usually pushing for. It's a small, very small T-shaped device. It's something very tiny.
For those of you that are watching us, we're trying
I think the word device really freaks people out.
I know.
So I feel like I use the word device and they're like, what are you putting inside me?
Yeah, maybe implant. I mean, I don't know.
Even the word implant. Yes, it is something foreign, right? So, but I really like it when OBs have like an actual physical example.
Yes.
Because you look at it and you're like, oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So an IUD is a small T-shaped device inserted into the uterus that prevents fertilization or implantation. Sterilization is another one. So that's usually what we say permanent surgical procedures like a tubal ligation and a vasectomy, even though vasectomies are reversible. And then 5, natural family planning. So tracking your cycles, avoiding sex during fertile periods. So this is called the rhythm method. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to go a little bit more in depth to all of these, but we just want to name them out for you right now.
We have emergency contraception as well. So the pills that you take, so the morning after pill, after you have unprotected sex to prevent pregnancy. And then you also have spermicidal lubrication. So basically lubrication that has spermicides, so things to kill the sperm.
Right.
Okay. All right. So birth control, the effectiveness of each one of them is very different. Some methods like IUDs and implants are over 99% effective when used correctly. And for me, it's like when used correctly, it's like an IUD. It's like we're not.
Yeah.
The weight's inserted.
Exactly.
Right? The weight's positioned as well.
Right.
So, I don't know. A good example that I have for this is my mom. She actually had an IUD and she lost a ton of weight and then she got pregnant with my brother.
My God.
It shifted.
No way.
It shifted. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, mine almost fell out.
I was going to say, I'm like, I don't know if you want to like bring it
No,
up. I'm
like,
Jules, hers like fell out.
It didn't. Like, thankfully, it didn't fully come out. But like,
but you had a scare.
100%. Yeah. Thankfully, like, not thankfully, but like, I mean, thankfully, I did find out in time.
You weren't ready for a kid at that moment.
Exactly.
Thankfully, you did not have an unexpected surprise.
Exactly. I mean, I went to the OB guy and he was like, when was your last period? I'm like, oh my God.
What?
It's like, honestly, I'm very surprised that it's still here.
Wow. That's
Jesus.
crazy.
Yeah. It's very...
And then others like condoms are around an 85% effective with typical use. Okay. So most birth control methods are reversible, meaning fertility returns when you stop using them. The exceptions are sterilization procedures, which are permanent. And let me just say this, there are people that have tubal ligations and still get pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't like...
So it just depends on what the surgeon did.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's important to note that while birth control prevents pregnancy, the methods do not protect against sexually transmitted infections. And this is like my red sign when I talk to this up to my teens
I could only
and my
imagine.
kids that are sexually active.
Yeah.
It's you still need to protect yourself against STDs.
Yeah.
Okay. So only barrier methods like condoms provide protection against both pregnancy and STI. So usually when I recommend a birth control, I say you still need to use condoms.
It
Okay?
is.
So choosing a birth control method is a personal decision that depends on factors like your health, lifestyle, future pregnancy plans, and your doctor can help you kind of come up with that decision.
Mhm.
And there's other things that we use birth control for as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to focus on contraception.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the most common options a little bit more. Hormonal options. So BC pills, as I used to call them back then when I used to take them, or birth control pills. They're known as the oral contraceptives. They are a very popular and effective method of preventing pregnancy, and they work by using hormones to alter the body's natural reproductive process. So how do they do this? So they prevent ovulation. So the main way these birth control pills work is by stopping ovulation, which is a release of an egg from the ovaries. They do so by providing synthetic versions of two hormones naturally produced in a woman's body, and these are estrogen and progestin. These hormones trick the brain into thinking that the body's already pregnant, so it doesn't trigger the release of an egg. And then second, thickening of the cervical mucus. Birth control pills often thicken the mucus around the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus. And this thicker mucus makes it harder for the sperm to travel through the cervix and reach an egg, even if one were to be released. And then 3, thinning of the uterine lining. The hormones in the pill can also thin the lining of the uterus, which then makes it less likely for a fertilized egg to attach and develop, though this is not considered a primary mechanism of action. 4th, consistent use is key. For both birth control pills to be most effective, they need to be taken every day, ideally at the same time. When used correctly, they're about 99% effective at preventing pregnancy. 5, so there are 2 types, which we're going to mention here now, and these are combination pills that contain both estrogen and progestin. And the other type is progestin-only pills, also called as mini pills. So the combination pills are more common and work primarily by preventing ovulation, while progestin-only pills rely more on thickening cervical mucus and thinning the uterine lining. And 6 is that this is a reversible method. It's important to note that the effects of birth control pills are reversible. Once a woman stops taking the pill, her natural fertility typically returns within a few months.
And sometimes it doesn't even need to be a few months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So with these hormonal ones, we also talked about the patches.
Mhm.
So the birth control patches are small. They're thin adhesive squares that you stick on your skin. So it's kind of like a bandage. They slowly release hormones into your body through your skin. These hormones are similar to the ones that your body naturally produces. The main way the patch prevents pregnancy is by stopping ovulation. The hormones in this patch trick your brain into thinking that you're already pregnant so that it doesn't trigger a release of an egg. Without the egg, there's nothing for the sperm to fertilize. So pregnancy can't occur. So that's mainly how it works. The patch also has 2 other ways of preventing pregnancy. Again, it's going to thicken that cervical mucus like we already talked about in the cervix, and then it also thins the lining of your uterus. So if you wear a new patch every week for 3 weeks, then go patch free 1 week. That's usually how you use the patch. During the week that you don't have a patch is usually when you have a menstrual cycle. So even during this week without a patch, you're still protected from pregnancy, right? And it's hard, and we're not going to go deep into it because it's a lot of physiology, and actually this physiology is just hard in itself to understand.
Exactly.
But there's fluctuations of hormones going up and down, and then the going up and down, and estrogen and progesterone and all of these can trigger the release of the egg and everything. So when you're using these hormones, you're kind of interfering with that fluctuation of hormones. Mm-hmm. So that's what we mean when we say it's tricking your brain, right? We're interfering with that fluctuation of hormones. So the patch is designed to keep steady levels of the hormones in your body throughout the week, right? So this is different from birth control pills where the hormone levels can go up and down each day. The steady hormone levels from the patch can reduce some side effects that some people experience with the pills. So it's important to change your patch on the same day each week for it to work effectively. When you use it correctly, it's over 99% effective at preventing pregnancy. However, in real world use, it's about 91% effective, mainly because people sometimes forget to change their patch on time.
Yeah.
So remember, while the patch is very good at preventing pregnancy, it doesn't protect against STIs. Okay. So I feel like that's going to be a disclaimer that we're going to say in every single one.
Yeah. That false confidence, I guess.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
of like,
I feel like everyone has false confidence.
yeah,
Like
big
every
time.
single time that someone, like a parent tells me, oh, I was breastfeeding, I didn't know that I could get pregnant.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't
yeah,
know, like in what world, like, do you live under a rock? I feel like everyone knows that already.
I know.
But anyways, we also have the vaginal rings. So the birth control vaginal rings are small, flexible plastic rings that you insert into your vagina to prevent pregnancy. They work by slowly releasing these hormones into your body through the vaginal wall. The main way the vaginal ring prevents pregnancy is by stopping the ovulation as well, thickening that cervical mucus, and also thinning the line of the uterus. You typically wear the ring for about 3 weeks at a time. After 3 weeks, you remove it for 1 week, and then that's again when you would have your menstrual cycle. So even during this week without the ring, you're still protected against pregnancy. The ring is designed to keep your steady levels of hormones in your body throughout the month. This is different from birth control pills. Okay, same when we kind of talked about the patch, where the hormone levels go up and down each day. The ring is going to give you a steady level of hormones, just like the patch. Okay, and it can also help reduce the side effects that some people experience with the pills. When it's used correctly, the ring is also more than 99% effective. But again, in the real world, it's usually 91 to 93% effective, mainly because people sometimes forget to change out the ring. So it's important to note that the ring is very good at preventing pregnancy, but again, not at STIs. So use condoms.
Yep. Next up is injections. So birth control injections are also known as contraceptive shots. The most common type is Depo-Provera.
Yeah, double shots.
There you go. Yeah, I know them as double shots, but that's the whole name anyway. But there are other brands available as well. How they kind of work, the injection contains a hormone called progestin. This is similar to the natural hormone that you have, which is progesterone that your body naturally produces. The main way it prevents pregnancy is, again, by stopping ovulation. And then, again, the thinning of the uterus and the thickening of the mucus around the cervix. So you typically get an injection once every 3 months. So that's about 13 weeks. From a healthcare provider, it's usually injected into your arm or your buttocks. And then when used correctly, birth control injections are very effective, more than 99% effective at preventing pregnancy when you get the shots on schedule. Then while the injection is very good at preventing pregnancy, again, louder for the people in the back, does not protect against STIs. You need a condom for that. After you stop getting the injections, it can take several months for your fertility to return to normal. This means it might take a little longer to get pregnant after stopping the shots compared to other forms of birth control. And like all medications, birth control injections can have some side effects. These can include changes in your menstrual bleeding, weight gain, headaches, and mood changes. It's important to discuss these potential side effects with your healthcare provider. And then you have implants. So birth control implants are small, flexible plastic rods about the size of a matchstick that are inserted under the skin of a woman's upper arm to prevent pregnancy. In the US, the brand name for this is, like she had said, Nexplanon. The implant works by slowly releasing a hormone called progestin in the body. And again, this hormone does exactly the same as before, the thickening of the mucus, the thinning of the lining, and it also stops ovulation. So once inserted by a healthcare professional, the implant can prevent pregnancy for up to 3 to 5 years, depending on the type. It's considered one of the most effective forms of birth control available. Less than 1 in 100 women using the implant will get pregnant in a year. Some key points about these birth control implants: they are long lasting, but they're reversible. You can have the implant removed at any time if you want to try to get pregnant. They're also very convenient. So once it's in place, you don't have to remember to take a pill every day or use something every time you have sex. They don't contain estrogen, so they can be used by women who can't take estrogen-based birth control. They can cause changes in your menstrual bleeding pattern. Some women have lighter periods or no periods at all, while others may have irregular bleeding. Like all hormonal birth control methods, they can have side effects. These may include headaches, breast tenderness, or mood changes. And again, they don't protect against sexually transmitted infections. Condoms will be needed for that.
Yeah. And also, I feel like with the Nexplanon, the most common complaint is the abnormal periods.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of bleeding, and then it stops, and then it comes back a couple days later, and then it stops. And people are like, "No, I'm just so tired of this. It's been months." It takes 6 months at least for it to, and you might not even have abnormal bleeding.
Yeah. It just happens to some
But
people.
it just happens to some people, and it can last. But remember, you are playing around, not playing, but you are interfering with that hormone, right? With those hormone levels. So it's going to take time for your body to adjust. And some bodies adjust differently than others. And sometimes if it's too annoying, like it's too much or maybe too heavy of a bleed or something like that, we can also kind of treat that with birth control pills. And some people, freak out. They're like, "Wow, the whole entire point of the Nexplanon was for birth control, so why are you putting me on a pill?" And it's only temporary. Relax. But if it's so annoying, and you're gonna get protection for 3 to 5 years, okay, well then let's try taking these pills as well to control the bleeding until you're finally on a regular cycle.
Yeah, it's definitely one person's experience is not, it's very different for practically everyone. It all depends on your own body chemistry, how your body is, and all that. So it could be very different amongst people. Like, don't listen to one friend. There's many. Your body could be completely different.
And to me, it comes down to how serious are you about protection.
Yeah.
Are you really serious about it? Is that what you really want?
Yeah.
Right. So if you really want something, okay, you're going to have a time and adjustment period, right? But you're going to get there, right? So that's important to you, that you should be able to kind of push through the annoyances of an irregular cycle.
Yeah. And then also you got to talk to your doctor, because maybe that's not the best suited birth control for you. There's other options, so that's why you got to talk to them. And maybe you're on Nexplanon or the double shot or whatever, because that's the one that your provider was like, what, given your history or however your period is or whatever the case, this is what I recommend to you. So it's very important. You can't, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm just going to take this. There's more to that.
Now we're going to talk about the barrier methods. So the first one we're going to talk about is what everyone is usually aware of, or what they teach about mostly, is condoms. So condoms are a thin protective sheath that's used during sexual activity to prevent pregnancy and reduce the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. They act as a physical barrier that stops the bodily fluids from being exchanged between partners during sex. There's 2 main types of condoms. There's an external condom, which is the one that people are mostly aware of. These are the most common type. They're worn on over the male penis. Male penis. Of course, it's a male penis. Wow. Okay. They're worn over the penis and are typically made of latex. There are some non-latex options out there and are available for those with these allergies. There's also an internal condom, which is the female one. These are inserted into the vagina or anus before sex, and they're usually made of polyurethane or nitrile. Both types of condoms work by creating a barrier that prevents sperm from reaching the egg, thus preventing pregnancy. They also block the transmission of many STIs by preventing direct contact between partners' genitals and bodily fluids. So there's a variety of condoms. This includes latex condoms, which is the most common type. So it's basically made out of a natural rubber. Okay, and it's made from the sap of rubber trees. I did not even know that.
You didn't know that?
Rubber trees. No.
Yeah, Florida has a bunch of them.
Interesting.
It's the really, really big ones with the huge roots.
Oh, okay.
That spread out like that. I don't think.
Girl, I did not know that.
Yep, rubber tree. That's where we get the rubber.
More, yes. So it's most widely used for the material of condoms due to its elasticity, strength, and effectiveness. We also use latex for gloves as well.
So many things.
Yeah, for so many things. And it prevents pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. So latex condoms are affordable and widely available. However, some people may have a latex allergy, and in which case you use the ones that are latex free, and it's an alternative material. So non-latex condoms are made from materials like polyurethane or polyisoprene, sorry. For those with latex allergies, polyurethane is a type of plastic material used to make condoms. It's thinner and less elastic than latex, providing some different sensation during use. Polyurethane condoms are also suitable for people with latex allergies. They are more expensive than latex condoms and may be more likely to slip or break because it doesn't have the elasticity that latex does. And then polyisoprene is a synthetic version of natural rubber latex. It also has similar properties to latex, such as softness, elasticity, but without the proteins that cause the latex allergies. So polyisoprene condoms are more expensive than latex condoms. Of course. Why, right?
Yeah.
you know, of course it has to be. Just make it more difficult for people to have protection. And then the other one that's also a more natural version of a condom is going to be lambskin. So it's a natural membrane. So lambskin condoms, also known as natural membrane condoms, are made from intestinal lining of lambs. Yummy.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
So
really gets
so
you in the
not
mood.
disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gross. I just want to throw up.
I know. It's like, who thought of that?
I know.
You imagine the person that thought of that first? Like,
But this is what they used to use back in the day.
oh, for sure. They used a bunch of crazy stuff back in the day, but like this one stuck.
Yeah. Ugh. They are thinner and provide more sensation than a latex condom. However, lambskin condoms contain tiny pores that may allow some of the sexually transmitted diseases to pass through, making them less effective at preventing STIs compared to other materials. They are also more expensive than latex condoms. You can also have, so another version of a regular condom is a lubricated condom. So these come pre-lubricated for easier use and also reduces the risk of breakage. There are textured, why are we doing this? What are we
Because they're I mean,
They're lubricated. There are textured condoms for sensation. There are flavored condoms. Okay. And then there are also short, thin condoms. Okay.
Yeah.
There are many types of condoms. You have a plethora to pick from.
exactly. So there's no excuse to not.
Exactly. There's no excuse to not have a condom on you. When used correctly, condoms are highly effective. For external condoms, about 98% of women whose partners use them consistently and correctly will not get pregnant in a year. For internal condoms, it's about 95%. However, with typical use, which includes occasional errors, the effectiveness is lower and around 85 for external condoms and 79 for internal condoms. So I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, there are more things that are more effective and also easier to use, and you don't have to use the lamb intestine. If it's so gross.
It is gross. I mean, have you ever even seen? I don't think I've seen one.
I don't want it. No, I've seen a lambskin.
You have?
I had to like.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's your Do you still give away free condoms?
Oh
at
yeah,
the clinic?
Well, not in my clinic, but where I used to work, we used to have like a whole thing. We would just like take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But what do lambskin condoms even look like?
So
Do they look? I mean, I imagine like a different color. They have to have a different color.
yeah, and you see it looks like a different texture and everything, but they use it though. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's important to note that while condoms significantly reduce the risk of many STIs, it's not 100%. Okay, so yes, we do recommend to wear them to protect you against sexually transmitted diseases, but it's not 100%.
Yeah.
So condoms are most effective at the STIs that spread through bodily fluids like HIV, chlamydia, or gonorrhea. And obviously, this is all through sexual intercourse. Okay, this can be, this can also be given in other ways. But they provide less protection against STIs that spread through skin-to-skin contact, like herpes, HPV, and those still have, it's still a reduced risk, but the risk is there.
Yeah.
So to work effectively, condoms must be used correctly every single time that you have sex.
Yeah.
This means putting them on before any genital contact occurs and using a new condom for each act of intercourse. It's also important to check the expiration date and make sure the packaging isn't damaged before use.
Don't use the one that you've had in your car for the last 10 years or in your wallet and it's all like
gonna like disintegrate the moment that it goes inside.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. Remember, condoms are the only form of contraception that also protects against STIs, making them a crucial tool for sexual health.
And jumping out of that, it's diaphragms. So diaphragms are a type of birth control device used by women to prevent pregnancy. They are shallow, dome-shaped cups made of silicone or latex that are inserted into the vagina before sex to cover the cervix and block sperm from entering the uterus.
It literally looks like a condom. For those of you that are listening,
I'll put a photo here
of what the diaphragm looks like.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
just
larger
like,
version of
yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, but it's very similar.
Yeah, I just wrote these notes, but I didn't look at photos, or I mean, if I did, maybe now that I'm looking at that, I did, whatever. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so like I said, shallow dome-shaped cups made of silicone or latex, and they're inserted into the vagina before sex to cover the cervix and block sperm from entering the uterus. I'll put a photo right here. So there's a few different types of diaphragms. There's an arching spring diaphragm, and these have firm curved rim that makes them easier to insert. These are good for women with weaker vaginal, I was about to say vaginal, so. Next, there's coil spring diaphragms that have a softer, more flexible rim. They work well for women with average vaginal muscle tone. Then you have flat spring diaphragms These are very thin, flexible rims, and they're best for women with strong vaginal muscles. And then there's a newer one-size-fits-most diaphragm called Kaya, and they don't require a fitting by a doctor. So to use a diaphragm, a woman first applies spermicide to the inside of the cup and around the rim. She then folds the diaphragm in half, inserts deep into the vagina, positioning it to cover her cervix. The diaphragm forms a physical barrier to block sperm, while the spermicide helps immobilize or kill any sperm that gets around the edges. For maximum effectiveness, the diaphragm should be left in place for at least 6 hours after sex, but no more than 24 hours total. When used perfectly, keyword perfectly, diaphragms are about 94% effective at preventing pregnancy. However, with typical use, they're about 88% effective.
Still too difficult.
Yeah,
Typical.
that sounds like a lot of work.
Not enough success.
A lot of work. The in, the out, the hours, the remember to take
The spermicide, put it around the rim, put it on the stone, put it on everything, have it fitted, and too much.
Yeah, in our
We
opinion.
have better options.
Yeah. So some advantages of the diaphragms, because you're like us, like it's just a lot of work. They don't contain hormone. They can be inserted hours before sex and are reusable.
I still have a better thing that does not contain hormones and is not as difficult. And we'll talk about it.
And you don't have to reuse it. Like that, I'm not into that. However, they require proper fitting and insertion to work well and don't protect against sexually transmitted infections. While not as popular as some other birth control methods today, diaphragms remain an option for women looking for a non-hormonal barrier method of contraception that they control. Yeah.
So then you have cervical caps. So these are small, reusable silicone or rubber cups that are used as a form of birth control. They work by covering the cervix, which is the opening to the uterus. It's that long, pointy part at the end of the uterus. It prevents the sperm from entering and then fertilizing the egg. So there are a few different types of cervical caps. There's a fem cap, which I think is the most commonly known one. The only available cervical cap available in the US, most likely the reason why I only know fem cap. And it's made from silicone and comes in 3 sizes. Then you have 2, which is Leah's Shield. This was another type of cervical cap that was previously available, but has been discontinued since 2008. Then you have Preventive Cap. This was an older type of cervical cap that's no longer used in the US. So to use a cervical cap, a woman has to insert it into her vagina before sexual intercourse, making sure it covers her cervix. And then for added effectiveness, spermicide is usually used around the cap. It's very similar to a diaphragm. Okay. So then after sex, this cap needs to stay in place, just like the diaphragm, and then no longer than 48 hours. So you can probably still leave it on for a little longer, but why would you? I don't understand. It's so complicated. I feel like this is so complicated, and this is the reason why some people don't end up using these type of protections, because it's a hassle.
It is. It sounds like a hassle.
And then it's important to note that cervical caps are less effective than some other forms of birth control for women who have never given birth. They have a failure rate of about 14%. And then for women who have given birth, the failure rate is higher at around 29%. So cervical caps do not protect against sexually transmitted infections. So they are often recommended to be used in combination with condoms for those who need an STI protection. I mean, just the condom itself has more of a percentage of a higher success rate of like preventing that. So what? Like
why?
I don't know. But
to each his own.
Yeah. So while cervical caps can be an option for women who prefer non-hormonal birth control methods, they do require a prescription and proper fitting by a healthcare provider to ensure that they work correctly.
So much work.
I have never had training for cervical caps.
Okay. I was gonna ask you that, like in residency or anything like that. Well, I mean, you don't have to. You're not OB, so but
I can do a Nexplanon.
Right.
I've had my attendings teach me to do IUDs, birth control, the injections, the ring, like literally so many other forms. But I have never had anyone train me on a cervical cap, and maybe once on the diaphragm, just so I knew how to use it.
Right. I see that, but like, I don't know, man. And one thing, it's very much my opinion. Like for me personally, I know that's a lot of people don't care, because then you have like the diva cups and whatever. That's different. So, but anything that's reusable in that area for me is an immediate no.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an immediate no.
Yeah.
So I have to.
And also like how cleaner.
That's just, see, it's an ick. It's such a, like, why? Let's just do the condom and get rid of it, and that's it.
Yeah,
like, you know, you'll never see it again. And it's gone. It's, God, no.
Shame.
Pretty much. Like,
out with it. Like you didn't want it there in the beginning, hence the barriers. I don't. In my opinion, there's a lot of people like, for instance, people that use like diva cups and stuff like that. You don't care about reusing it, whatever. That's again, preferences, right?
I think everyone has their preference.
Exactly.
And
But this is a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. Now I have my own preference as like personally and also professionally recommending
Right.
okay, is the IUDs.
Yeah, same.
Like I always say that this is the way to go.
Yeah. I agree.
Treatment devices are IUDs, which are the small T-shaped devices that we place inside a woman's uterus to prevent pregnancy. So they're a form of long-acting reversible contraception that can be effective for 3 to 10 years, depending on the type of IUD that you use. So there's two main types of IUDs. There's the copper. Okay, so this was the option that I was saying. I have a better option that's less hassle and no hormones.
Yep.
So the copper IUD, this is wrapped in a small amount of copper wire, which only the copper IUD is available in the US, is called the Paragard. And then you have the hormonal IUDs. So this T-shaped device is going to slowly kind of release small amounts of hormones like progestin. And there's 4 different brands that we use. The most common one was the Mirena. Now I hear a lot of Kyleena, Liletta, and also Skyla. Okay. I love how they're all names. I feel like it's like a full entire like superhero.
Yeah. They do sound like Charlie's Angels. Like there's something.
Charlie's Angels, like Mirena, Kyleena, Liletta, and Skyla. Like
Skyla.
Right, yeah. Liletta.
What's your name?
Yeah, exactly.
Kyleena.
I mean, but talk about like an attractive name.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine?
Mirena.
Yeah, I know.
They all sound like so like, sensual. Skyla.
Oh God, Julie. I'm over here thinking superheroes and she's like Vixen.
Well, yeah, look at this. Skyla.
Yeah, I know. So IUDs work to prevent pregnancy in a few different ways. So the copper IUD releases copper ions, which are toxic to sperm. Okay. And then it prevents the sperm from reaching and fertilizing an egg.
That's so cool how that works. Like,
I thought also copper IUDs, am I wrong? Doesn't it change the pH?
Maybe double check. But I know that for sure it's like that much I know for sure. Like the ions and whatever, and it's toxic for the sperm.
I mean, it's the copper ions that affect the sperm. I thought the copper ions affect the actual environment.
I see what you mean.
The sperm less, but I guess it's all the same if you think about it.
Probably.
Okay. Well, anyways.
Yeah, because it's in the environment. The ions are in it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay. All right. So that was copper IUD. And then hormonal IUDs thicken the cervical mucus, which blocks and traps the sperm. They also thin the uterine lining and then may sometimes prevent ovulations.
Just like the pill, like when we started this.
Exactly. So both types of IUDs can change the environment inside the uterus, making it really difficult for the sperm to move and to even survive. And then IUDs are over 99% effective at preventing pregnancy. They don't require daily action from the user, which is why they're sometimes called set it and forget it birth control. And then they do not protect against sexually transmitted diseases, and a healthcare provider can insert the IUD during a simple in-office procedure, and it can be removed in the same in-office procedure as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like oh my God, everyone has this whole entire nightmare about
I know what you mean.
IUD insertion.
Social media
scares people.
Social media has really, really gone gun-ho on this. I don't know why. I don't even know where it stemmed from.
Don't get me wrong. It's uncomfortable. It feels like a strong cramp. Okay. And yes, pain is subjective. I always say subjective and objective. But pain is subjective. So what's painful for me might not be painful for you, and vice versa. But when I got my IUD, I was shitting bricks.
Yeah.
I was shitting bricks.
I remember. And I had told you, I'm like, I've had it done twice already. Yeah. It's going to hurt a bit, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And then
it's really not what social media has made it seem.
Bracing for it, and she's like, we're all done. And then I'm like, excuse me? Yeah. That's it.
I'm telling you. What sucks is the removal. Because when I had mine removed, that one, that sucked. But honestly, it was like a second.
Yeah.
And but what I see on social media, it's like people like, oh my God, I'm still in the car. I'm back in the car now and I'm dying. I'm like,
no, I went straight back to work.
Exactly.
I went straight back to work. I literally went into my same clinic to my doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing. It was like, okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I felt a little bit uncomfortable and okay, but
dude, I
had worse periods.
I literally was about to say that.
Yeah.
Like periods are way worse.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and now I don't even have any discomfort because of it.
Same.
So, and
I don't
also,
know.
I just want to mention too, there are a lot of providers that say that you cannot get an IUD if you haven't given birth before. That
Yeah,
is false.
that's a lie.
That is false.
Yeah.
You can get an IUD.
Get a different provider.
I think the insertion is going to be not as easy, right? Because when you give birth, it changes your anatomy. So it might be a little bit easier to get the IUD in, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. So I've had many
Yeah.
people say, oh, well, no, my doctor told me that I had to give birth. That's
That-
actually not true.
That's a little messed up.
Yep.
You know, for the provider
And I
to
think
lie about
I think
that.
it's more difficult, and I think a lot of people have they just don't feel comfortable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So maybe they have more experience with putting in an IUD on someone that's already childbearing, but you don't need to have a child to get an IUD.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that because that's messed up.
Yeah.
So the other form, sterilization. This is a permanent form of birth control that surgically prevents a person from being able to reproduce. There are two types of sterilizations, one for people with female reproductive organs and one for people with male reproductive organs. For people with female reproductive organs, the most common type of sterilization is called tubal ligation, sometimes referred to as getting your tubes tied. In this procedure, the fallopian tubes, which carry eggs from the ovaries to the uterus, are surgically closed off. This prevents sperm from reaching an egg and fertilizing it. And there are several ways for tubal ligation, how it can be done. So the tubes can be cut and tied or sealed shut. Next, you could also have them clipped with clips or bands. These could be put in the tubes to block that passage, or sections of the tubes can just be removed entirely. Another option for female sterilization is bilateral saping. There you go. I just know the there's a Cuban word that's a very bad word, and it's something, and it's like very similar sounding to this. So that's the only time that I have heard that. Anyway, where both fallopian tubes are completely removed. With people with male reproductive organs, the sterilization procedure is called a vasectomy. In this outpatient surgery, the tubes that carry sperm, called the vas deferens, are cut and sealed. This prevents sperm from mixing with semen and leaving the body. Both types of sterilizations are considered permanent and are over 99% effective at preventing pregnancy. They work by creating a physical barrier that stops eggs and sperm from meeting and then creating a baby. However, the procedures don't affect hormone levels or change anything else about a person's body or sexual function. It's important to note that while highly effective, sterilization procedures are intended to be permanent. People considering sterilization should be sure that they don't want children or additional children in the future. Sterilization also doesn't protect against STIs, so other precautions are still needed. And then I know everybody's thinking about vasectomies, and we've all heard that they're, are they reversible or are they not? So yes, they are. Vasectomies can often be reversed, but there are some important factors to consider. Vasectomies reversals are possible through surgical procedures called Go ahead.
Vasovasectomy.
There you go. Or
Oh, sorry.
no, I mean
The other one, vasoepididymostomy.
those things.
It's the epididymis. So vasoepididymostomy. Jesus.
Lord. Yeah. No.
I think epididymis is also something that's hard to say. So
Epididymis?
epididymis.
Yeah.
So vasoepididymostomy. That's like really hard to say.
Okay. These surgeries reconnect the vas deferens tubes that were cut during the original vasectomy. Now, the success rates for vasectomies reversal range from 60 to 95%. However, success depends on several factors, including time since the original vasectomy was performed. So success rates tend to decline over time. The skill and experience of the surgeon, the type of reversal procedure needed, and the age and fertility of both partners involved. So the reversal surgery is more complex than the original vasectomy. It typically takes 2 to 4 hours and is usually performed under general anesthesia. And the recovery for this is longer than for a normal vasectomy, with lifting and pushing restrictions for 6 to 8 weeks. Most men can return to work within 5 to 14 days, depending on their job. And the costs. Vasectomy reversals are often expensive, ranging from $5,000 to $15,000, and are usually not covered by insurance. Alternatives: if reversal is impossible or successful, other options like sperm extraction and in vitro fertilization may be considered. And some considerations for this: if you're considering a vasectomy but think that you may want children in the future, it's generally recommended to explore other contraceptives as your first option. It's important to note that while reversal is often possible, vasectomy should be considered a permanent form of contraception, like I've said. And the decision of the reverse should be made carefully, considering all your factors, including success rates, costs, and alternatives. So, yeah.
So, are any forms of female sterilization reversible? Some forms of female sterilization can potentially be reversed, but reversibility is not guaranteed and depends on several factors. So, reversibility potential varies by sterilization method. So, tubal ligation methods that remove less of the fallopian tube have a higher potential for reversal compared to more destructive methods. So clip and band methods have shown higher reversal success rates, so 84% and 72% respectively, compared to other techniques. Microsurgical techniques have improved reversal success rates over time. So using microsurgery, some studies have reported pregnancy success rates of 50 to 70% after reversal attempts. However, even with microsurgery, reversal of some methods have lower success rates. Reversal is considered a major surgery, so it's more complex than an original sterilization procedure. It's expensive. It's often not covered by insurance. And then the risk of reversals include 15 to 20% chance of an ectopic pregnancy. So the reason why is in the fallopian tube, it has like these little hairs that push along the egg, right? So if you mess around with the fallopian tube during a tubal ligation or a clipping or something, then you're messing around with those little hairs, right?
Yeah.
Those little hairs that are gonna push the egg, right? So if you're not able to push the egg, then the egg can potentially be fertilized where it is in the fallopian tube, and that's what we call an ectopic pregnancy.
And that's really dangerous.
Yes, and that's very dangerous. You can have 15 to 20% chance of an ectopic pregnancy after reversal, and then 15% chance of a miscarriage as well, right? So it just wasn't a successful pregnancy. So time since sterilization affects success. The longer the time since sterilization, the lower the chances of successful reversal. Alternatives exist if reversal fails. In vitro fertilization may be an option for some women. Now, sterilization should be considered permanent. Despite some reversal potential, sterilization is intended to be permanent and irreversible. So women considering sterilization should be counseled on its permanence and the availability of highly effective reversible contraceptive methods. And also, I have heard of cases where even the tubal ligation is not even successful.
Exactly. Yeah, and it all depends on the surgeon, how it's performed, all those things. But yeah, that's definitely happened. And complications. It's like these are surgeries, so be sure that that's what you want to do. But
so
that's the end of part 1.
Yeah. So in part 1, we mostly focused on like the hormonal, the barrier methods, the IUDs,
more common ones you guys have heard.
And then in our next episode, we'll be talking about the other ones. Like family planning and all myths associated with birth control.
Things like that. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. They'll be coming out next week from whenever you're hearing this. And check us out on patreon.com/funny medicine podcast. Thank you, Patreons. You guys are the best. Check us out on all forms of social media. We're pretty much everywhere. If you have a topic that you would like for us to cover or something that you saw in the news, whatever it is, let us know. And either here, wherever it is that you're listening or watching, or in any form of social media, like I said, or at our email, funnymedicine305@gmail.com. We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.